I know you're a busy guy, so do you have any sort of plans as to how you're going to release the series reviews? Are you going to do it monthly, or are you going to just
Oh
put
no,
them as and when? Or
this series I'm just gonna get them out as soon as I can.
You're listening to a mostly harmless cutaway.
Mostly harmless. Mostly harmless? Oh, come. I think that's pretty good coverage for this disintegrated pile of rubble.
Hi, this is Eric,
and this is Mark.
and welcome back. We are here at Mostly Harmless Cutaway. It is now number 113.
Lucky for some.
Lucky for some. Yeah, here we are. We're back, and looky, we have Mark again. Hello, Mark.
Hello, Eric.
Well, I hope it went well for you last time.
I really enjoyed myself, and thank you so much for asking me back again.
Oh, of course. I'm trying to get used to this one-on-one feel that seems to be coming
a
a
different
trend
vibe.
now. It is. But, hey, it's MHC, and we've seen The Caretaker. Oh, boy. So, The Caretaker. Earthbound story.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know where to begin. I liked it. There we go.
Well, let's begin by saying Gareth Roberts is openly trolling the fans with the opening of the episode, where they're chained up on that random planet, and it never gets resolved. They don't have the vibro cutters, and you never see what happens.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, me
Completely
too.
fine with it.
I'm sure someone somewhere is going completely bat poop crazy about it.
Looks like they're on planet Vulcan, and I'm okay with it. But no, it seems to be something that's been done a bit often during the Moffat era, where we just have these strange cold opens that don't necessarily connect to anything. He seems to like to do that.
Yeah.
Start off a la Star Wars: A New Hope, like something's in progress, and don't you worry about it. But yeah, a good opening. I almost completely forgot that even happened in this story. But more Danny Pink, more Clara. I'm all about it. I like it. I like it a lot. And yes, it is an Earthbound story, but it also seems like yes, there is a creature, there is a baddie, but this story is really not about that.
No, it's kind of incidental, really, because the whole thing is about Clara's been hiding what's been going on with her time travels from Danny, and it's finally catching up with her. And
actually, it was yeah, there is a lot of similarity between this and The Lodger and Closing Time and La-Di-Da. But I, for one, I'm okay with it. I like it. I enjoyed it. And a different take on a different doctor trying to blend in.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some people are finding it a bit hard to get into this kind of slightly abrasive character that the 12th Doctor is, but I think this really shows off how great Capaldi is. You know, he's got all these different layers to the character, and I mean, he's obviously known in the UK for being able to do comedy. He's in a series called The Thick of It, which is a huge show over here in terms of comedy audience. And I think this is a really great example of what he can do. And he's so dry with the humour. He just plays it so straight, but it comes out, in my opinion, as really funny. I love it.
It is, and as people know, or if you listen to MHC, The Lodger, one of my favorite episodes of Series 5, and I love it for a lot of the same reasons why I like this story. And yes, the Doctor, and seeing him in these situations. I don't know. So, I don't know. How do you feel about Danny now? I mean, still a fan of Danny in general?
Yeah, I think it's nice to have this kind of dynamic. I think you may not agree with this, because I know you're a huge fan of Matt Smith with Amy and Rory, but I always felt like Rory was kind of browbeaten and just kind of there because he was tailing along after Amy, whereas I think Danny's got a bit more of a spine to him, and he's his own man, and I think he's a more interesting character. So I think, the dynamic is really interesting.
Well, if
I'm
I'm
just wondering how it's
allowed,
going to pan out.
if I'm allowed to, I love them both. I mean, I loved Rory in Series 5, and with the Matt Smith years, Rory was Rory, and Rory was great. And I love Danny, too. And Danny's not Rory, and that's fine, and I love them both. I think they're great. I mean, early on, when the BBC first announced that this character was going to be in Doctor Who, Danny Pink, I, off the bat, assumed that he was going to be another traveling companion in the TARDIS. And he hasn't been. But that's okay. It's been fine. But, no, I love Danny. And Danny definitely makes Clara better for me in the series. And I do like him for the reasons... I mean, yes, he does have a spine. And it is interesting. Definitely... Okay. Yeah, some of the comedic aspects in the story I liked. Definitely the bit where the Doctor thinks he knows who Clara's getting involved in.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
That was...
But that's really set up really nicely, because you had obviously in Listen, you had the character of... Oh, what's his name? Danny's descendant. Orson Pink. Yeah. So, of course, you've got that kind of the gag already set up, handsome time traveler. So, of course, the Doctor automatically thinks himself. It's brilliant. And the whole thing, I don't know if you're aware, Gareth Roberts did a novelization of Douglas Adams's Sharda, the old classic series.
Aware of it, but...
Episode, yeah. It's a really good book. You should check it out if you like Douglas Adams' sense of humor. It's very much in line with his kind of humor. And I bring that up because one of my favorite lines in this episode was the whole thing about how he's trying to get across to Clara how he can fit in with humans, and that he spent a while living with otters, so living with humans should be an absolute breeze. I thought that was great. Just made me chuckle. Appeals to my sense of humor.
Well, there you go. Let's see. The Doctor's got a new shirt on underneath his brown coat.
I think that's. I've read somewhere that actually belongs to Peter Capaldi. That's his own jumper.
Well, that's interesting. Like Columbo. I don't know. Wearing his own clothes in his show. That came out of nowhere. But, my gosh, I don't know what else to say because it's getting kind of difficult at this point. I mean, it's another
How many more times can you say this was a great episode? They're getting better and better.
Exactly. And for those who don't know, if there was a low point for me up to this point in the series, well, I know I came off pretty harsh on Deep Breath initially. I don't dislike it as much as I did now, looking back. But also, I mean, Sherwood was, I guess, if there had to be a low point. But even Sherwood I didn't hate. I haven't hated anything in this series.
I thought it was a fun episode. It didn't really bring much to the whole series arc. A cursory mention of
as stated on this
Promised Land,
podcast.
that's about it.
As stated on this podcast, I started seeing more of the 12th Doctor's personality developing in the Sherwood episode. But I wasn't really taken too much by the story itself. That being said, I've just pretty much enjoyed everything in this series, and this is yet another, so I don't even know what to do with myself. I don't even know what to say. Doctor Who is great. Just keep on doing what you're doing.
I know you're a huge Matt Smith fan, and one of the sort of the things that people would quite often go back and say about him was how great he was when it came to interacting with children.
Yes.
And with Peter Capaldi, obviously he's got this kind of brusque exterior, this kind of prickly nature to him. But I think he really shines when he's interacting with the kids. I think he's brilliant. I forget the name of the girl now who how does she describe herself? She's
the one in this story?
Yeah.
Courtney Wood?
Courtney, yeah. The destructive influence, as she describes herself.
Right.
She thinks is her name for a while, which is quite funny. That interaction with her, I think, is brilliant. he's telling her to get lost, but you can see there's that spark, and they kind of get each other. And I really love that. I think
we have Courtney and children, obviously, and what I found strange, it's not really strange, but since we are at the school, for some reason I feel like we should have seen one or both of the kids from last series. Series 7.
My God. Really?
Why do you say that?
Well, obviously I haven't listened to your review of that for a while, because I kind of assumed that they were universally generally not very well liked.
That's the feel I get too, and I'm not saying I love them, but I didn't hate them either. I think. I don't know. I don't remember what I said at the time.
I think it's a bit harsh to have a go at kids, because
it's a bit harsh to have a go at kids.
It's really mean. It's really mean.
No, but I didn't...
I think the problems with that was it wasn't down to them. It was down to the way it was written.
No, I understand. I understand that completely. But I'm just saying, for whatever reason, I expected to see them again, especially if we're in this school setting. And it almost seems a bit odd to me that there's no mention at all. And hey, maybe they go to a different school. I have no idea. But it is a bit weird to me when I think that some of the stuff from last series, just talking about Claire, has just been dropped.
Well, I think maybe in fan fiction somewhere they are in this episode, but they get blasted to smithereens by the robot.
Well, that's... If there's somewhere we don't normally tread on this show. But I mean, I like Courtney, and that's fine. I just think it's a bit strange that I don't know what happened to the kids. And apparently I'm the only one who's concerned with such things from last year. But yeah.
Do you think the brown jacket was left over from Tennant that he's wearing in this episode?
Oh, no. For a moment I thought you were being serious, but no, it's surely different. Surely. No,
What do you think of his usual? It's kind of termed now. You mentioned it a few times now as magician look. Do you like the outfit? Or
I do. And I mean, when just the initial look of it before the series debuted, and when he was just wearing regular white button-up shirt and everything else, I mean, it was okay. It didn't really grab me too much, but it's definitely grown on me since then.
Yeah. And
I really do like it now. And, what I think is strange now when I look back at the past series, I think Matt Smith, he's weird in the purple coat. I don't know what that is. I mean, I think of him more as the Tweed Doctor, and the few times I've revisited some of his purple coat stories recently,
It doesn't seem right.
It just seems like it comes out of nowhere, or it didn't have enough time also to just to get established, at least in my mind. So
I think I heard somewhere that Peter Capaldi was really keen that when they decided on the final costume, it could be something that a child could put together themselves if they wanted to dress up without having to spend a fortune. I thought that was such a really neat touch.
Oh, I never heard that. That's news
to me.
But
it goes back to him being a fan back in his young days.
And I also like, of course, I always like the little change-ups, though. Whether it's a different shirt or this or that. I do like, fan of that.
Or a sparkly jumper.
Sure. Yeah. La-di-da. I don't know what else there is to say about the Coal Hill School, the baddie that's not really a baddie. Okay. I definitely did like, though, that by the end of the story, I'm trying to think how we are sort of establishing, or it's not really a contest, but at the end it does seem like that they're sizing each other up, I guess, by the end, between the Doctor and Danny. And is Danny good enough for her, or la-di-da? And I like the way it all comes down to the bit. And I can't even remember how the dialogue goes. But I love the bit
where
about
it goes the whole thing about you've explained me to him, and then you need to finish the job. You need to explain him to me.
Well, that's not the bit I was focusing on right now, the second, but I mean, that's connected. The bit where it's like, well, he just saved the world. And at first, you can take it both ways. You can assume, oh, she's talking about Danny because he just saved the world. But then, no, she's talking to Danny about the dot. Well, she's doing it both ways.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the neatness of the script in that way. It's just...
I've heard a few people complaining about how she says she loves him, and they're saying, "Oh, look, this is like only their second date." But
no.
If you pay attention to the cold open, they go on like half a dozen dates, and I'm pretty sure it's mentioned somewhere in the dialogue that it's when he's talking to Courtney's parents at the parents' evening, how they mention about how last year. He'd made some comment about her. And when he meets Clara, that's on his first day. So obviously he's been there over a year. So they've been dating for at least a year.
Okay, now I didn't get all of that. I didn't realize like a year. I mean, maybe that's so. I didn't pick up on that. I want to say it was maybe the start of the previous episode that they mentioned that they had been seeing each other for at least 2 months. But I had no idea. If a year has passed... in their relationship, this is the first I was made aware of that, but I'm gonna have to look for that. Wait, when was that mentioned? Or
it's the parents' evening. So they're stood in line, and Courtney's parents are right at the front of the queue, and they all kind of look at each other like, "Oh no!" And they're talking to Danny Pink, and they mention how he said something about their daughter the previous year at parents' evening. So when he first meets Clara in the first episode of this series, it's his first day at work. And that's the implication I got. So it means that they must have been together for at least a year.
Oh, well, see, I wasn't sure about that either. Okay, I wasn't sure if is that his first day at work. At the start.
Well, maybe I got that the wrong way around. But this when he gets introduced to her, it comes across as, "Oh, this is the new guy. He's just starting." So I just kind of assumed that was.
Oh, I see. Okay. Possible. I don't know, but I didn't necessarily think that myself. I mean, as far as him starting off new to her for sure. Maybe he is new. I don't know. I have to go back and look at all this stuff. I will think about this when I do my series rewatch, for sure. But interesting. But oh man, I don't even know what to say. Doctor Who again. It's great. Like the story a lot. If there's anything I would want to change about it, the creature, it doesn't necessarily look bad or anything, but I don't know what it is about the creature. It looks like a children's toy to me, a modern children's toy.
I know what you mean. There's something about it. It's kind of... It's cool that they're going practical again.
Yeah,
but...
it's not really... bad. Maybe it's just the way its head looks. Maybe if you just changed its head, it would make it all better for me. Yeah, I don't know. That's about it, though. I mean, if I have to find something to critique, it's just the look of the creature. But other than that, great story. I'm all about it. I'm curious to see if Courtney's going to stick around or not, because that's another thought I started having in this particular story. Something I'd wonder. I mentioned this somewhere else on MHC, but since the inclusion of Danny Pink, I was wondering if, is he going to be the action man of Series 8? I thought, are they trying to set it up, especially with this story, are they trying to set it up in like an updated version of the original Time Team?
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
Action man, older doctor, school teachers, and of course, let's just have a student. And so, I almost expected the next episode to have all four of them together moving. And I don't know, maybe that's just me. No, I don't think it's just me. But it is an interesting dynamic, I think, at least for this story.
I mean, there's loads of great comedy lines in this. There's one that springs to mind, which was he's talking to Clara about why the robot is fixed on the school. And he talks about Artron emissions, and there's been a lot of them around. And he mentions how he used to have a teacher like her once. I thought it was a nice little nod back to Barbara from the original series. I think there's been a lot of fan service this year, from what I've seen so far.
And
which I kind of love.
One more aside, just since I'm looking at it on screen, but I don't know if you remember Clara's costume in this story. She has the maroon blouse or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But she has these little, I don't know what you call that. The thing like pinned to her lapels, or her collars.
Mm-hmm.
It's pinned on both sides, 2 round things, and connected by a chain or something.
Okay, yeah, like a brooch kind of thing.
Yes, like a brooch kind of thing. Well, the circular bits, if you look at them up close, they look like the face of the moon. And I just think that's just an interesting look. And especially thinking about what the next episode next week is called, I just think it's interesting that those things seem to look like moon faces. I'm sure it's nothing. It's just another throwaway detail. But
well, speaking as a sad man in his 40s who watches what is ostensibly a children's show, Clara always looks great in anything. You could dress her in a black refuse bag and she'd still look great.
Well, I can't argue with that. I really can't. I mean, I don't know. Who is your favorite companion of the new series?
I found Rose incredibly irritating.
Wow.
Particularly as time went on, because more with Tennant. I think the first series it was a bit more reined in. By the time she gets going with Tennant, it gets very smug, and she's actually quite horrible to her boyfriend. I actually quite like Mickey. Kind of felt a bit sorry for him because he took a lot of rubbish from her. So Martha, very pretty to look at, but she was kind of a bit wet, really. She was just hanging on the Doctor's every word, and he wasn't really interested because he was still pining over Rose. I think Donna, I have to say, is probably my favourite companion. Probably up until Clara now. I think Clara, this series, has really taken over. I think is my favourite.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know you were part of that ilk. We speak of that ilk often, I think. Me and Josh do.
Ilk.
Those who love Catherine Taser Fate, which I'm okay with. I'm okay with it. I understand it. Not my favorite, but I get it for those. And I didn't realize you're one of them. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just saying. Interesting. Well, good on that. Good for Clara. Yeah, most people know Amy. I kind of like Amy. But,
does this have anything to do with the first episode she's in where she's wearing that strippogram outfit?
No.
No.
I mean, sincerely, no. No, it's no.
Pure coincidence.
That's not even one of my favorite outfits of hers. We'll do a special MHC on that one of these days. When I do my favorite companion outfits.
Oh, you need to have Kat on for that one.
No, that's not even one of my favorite ones. I mean, her outfit in Victory of the Daleks, that always seemed interesting to me. Oh, no, there's another one I like. I want to say it's... I think I want to say Night Terrors and also The Girl Who Waited. Mm-hmm. Those spring to my mind. I remember what she wore in Night Terrors. Girl Who Waited. There's something. Those are two. I'm not saying those are my favorite Amy outfits, but those are two that I remember fondly, and not just because. Okay, I know you started with a strippergram outfit. I'm not. That's not my unit of measure.
Okay.
I'm just saying I like the composition. I like the Victory one because she's wearing the cowboy boots.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. Anyway, for another time. Great.
This is in danger of turning into an episode of Project Runway.
No. That's one of our favorite things on MHC. Not necessarily Project Runway, but the format.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what else we have to say about the story, but okay, at the end, we don't talk about it much. Well, but it's there. More Nethersphere, and I guess a new character. I guess that we meet in the Nethersphere.
Yes, Seb.
Seb, a name which I've never heard in the United States.
Well, short for Sebastian.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't see. I've never known anyone named Sebastian in the United States either, so maybe that's part of it too.
And the guy that plays him was in the thick of it with Peter Capaldi.
Oh,
So
see, I've
they
only
go
seen
back a
I've
long
seen 2 episodes of that show, and so I didn't realize that.
So it's a bit of a role reversal. Well, kind of, or a similar kind of role for him because in the thick of it, Peter Capaldi played a spin doctor for the government.
Right.
And, oh god, the actor's name is now left my brain. But the guy who's playing Seb plays his kind of right-hand man. And obviously, in this series, he appears to be Missy's right-hand man, so he's playing a similar role, but he's really camping it up. Just from the 10 or whatever seconds of screen time he had, he was going uber camp.
Uber camp. And speaking of Missy, do you have any theories on Missy?
Oh my goodness. Everyone keeps going on about it's the Rani, it's the Master.
I don't think it's either of those.
My colleague JR on the Blue Box podcast, he's thinking it could be some kind of... Well, his theory on what the Nethersphere is he thinks it's the Matrix from Gallifrey. But I don't think we were still any nearer to really working out who Missy is. I mean, surely to go from Master to Mistress Missy, that would be too obvious. I don't know.
It would. Okay, if it turned out to be the Master, that's fine. That could be interesting.
That would please the girls on Verity.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it would please them. But
well, they do talk a lot about why can't the Doctor be a female. So
I know. This
would be the next best.
I guess I don't know what the next best is. I mean, if that's your position, but if it was the Master, fine. That's fine. I just, for some reason, don't think it's the Master or the Ronnie or anything like that. But that being said, I don't really have any theories, so I don't really know. I know this is... Since
the way
been
Moffat
thing,
works...
Go ahead.
The way Moffat works is you'll get to the end of the series, you'll have an amazing finale, and then you'll sit back and you'll watch it back over again, and you'll think, well, why didn't I see that? That was so obvious. He spelled it out.
I don't know. I mean...
Mm-hmm.
Because I would say that's true if Series 6 never existed. But because there was no surprises for me in the finale of Series 6. But as we all know, I sort of knew how that was all going to play out. But that one felt heavy-handed for me. I'm talking about the series arc and its signposts. Series 6 felt a bit heavy-handed. This has not felt that way for me. Because I don't know what's going on. I mean, since MHC has been a thing, this is the most in the dark I've felt about a series arc as a whole. And I have no idea where they're going. But,
I know Moffat's played the long game before, because at the end of Matt Smith's run, you were getting loose ends tied up that were there from the first series with Matt Smith. So he's not afraid to play these things out. I think a lot of people complain that he's making up as he goes along, but I think that's really paying a huge disservice to Moffat. I think he thinks about these things a lot, and I think he plans it out incredibly well. I do wonder, though, because I don't know how much longer he wants to carry on doing this, whether the whole arc is going to be that long again. I don't know how long it's going to be before somebody else steps into that particular job. So I'm wondering whether this might get wrapped up a bit more neatly than in previous seasons.
I don't know, but I just hope it wraps up well. However, I'm just talking about this series because...
Well, it'd be a shame because so far it's just been getting better and better and better. It's been ramping up and ramping up. So you really want the finale to just continue that momentum. It would be a real shame if it kind of fell flat at the end.
Absolutely.
I can't see that happening.
But we're 6 in, and apparently halfway.
Yeah. It's going too quickly.
Is it? Not for me, but okay. You say so.
Well, we waited a long time for the series. Well, I say that.
I was fine.
Shouldn't be
I
a
was
complaint.
busy during the interim. I was
me too,
busy
me
with
too.
things not Doctor Who, so
me
I needed that time. And it's back, and I love it. But it's pretty. Yeah, it's coming on pretty strong. I mean, I'm adjusting to week in, week out Doctor Who, but that's fine. It's fine.
I've got to say at this stage, Peter Capaldi could be my favorite new series Doctor. I think he's nailed it. I think every time I watch him on screen, he has this kind of magnetism about him. You can't take your eyes off him. I think he's brilliant. I went to a thing a while ago, and one of the guys who's the Dalek operator, Barnaby Edwards, was there, and he was the Dalek operator for Into the Dalek. And he said what a consummate professional Peter Capaldi was, because you're probably aware they shoot these things completely out of chronological order. And apparently he's got this little notebook that he keeps with him at all times, and his own personal continuity. So at any time, they can just cut where they are, go to a different scene, and he knows exactly where he is. And you can see that the quality of the performance right the way through, not denigrating any of the previous Doctors, but he's just got it. He's got that star factor, and I think he's very close to being my favourite Doctor ever.
Well, I'll say he's in the running for me in that way. Yeah, Matt Smith has definitely been my favorite of the new series, right out the box. But Capaldi is definitely growing on me.
Did you ever have any doubts when they first announced it was going to be him? Or
Well, I never have doubts. Never have doubts. I'm always just fine with whatever. I never had any doubts. But I will say, just judging on Deep Breath on its own, I didn't know where I felt at all. I didn't feel bad about him being the Doctor or anything like that. But I definitely felt almost no connection.
Really?
That first outing. Yeah, for me personally. I just, no connection at all. Like I said, and I mean, this was stated on MHC, but the way I felt watching Deep Breath, I felt like the lines written on the page for the Doctor didn't really feel very different from 11. It was just a different actor reading 11 lines, it seemed. But that's just judging that one story. We've come a long way since then. As I stated, I guess, last week, especially in Sherwood, I started seeing more of who this 12 guy is coming out. That's when I really started seeing him do things that are, okay, 11 wouldn't do that. That is not 11. That is definitely not. And I don't mean that as a bad thing, but I just mean that, okay, this is definitely someone different.
I don't know what order they filmed the episodes in, so I don't know if Deep Breath was the first one they filmed. 'Cause I know in previous, certainly in the classic series, they would start off a Doctor on a story, maybe 2 or 3 stories in, and then later come to his initial story. But I don't know if they did that this time around. Be interesting to find out.
Yeah, I know RFS knows.
I
know they know. But
I mean, that said, you look at Matt Smith. His first show that he made was the Angels 2-parter, and he hit the floor running on that. I mean, that was phenomenal. You'd never guess that was his first go at the character.
Oh, we'll get no argument out of me on that. But I don't know. There we have it. Anything else we want to say about this story, Caretaker?
Well, can I just say, for this series, I'm loving the new TARDIS interior. It's not dramatically different, but I just like the look of it. I like the idea of the sort of anachronistic bookshelves in there, and the whole thing with the blackboards. I don't really quite know what's going on there. I'm assuming that is building up to something, because he keeps on writing out these equations. It never really gets addressed. I know they use it in Listen. So yeah, I love the look of it.
I do like the things that they've added to the set that you brought up. It does make it better for me. I still, if we're talking about the new series, I still like 11's original TARDIS scheme the best. of all.
Oh, really? That's my least favorite of
Really?
the lot. I think it looks like a heap of junk.
And
that doesn't do anything for me at all.
Wow, that is my favorite of the new series, and one of my favorite of any Doctor Who. And
I like the exterior. I like the way they kind of went back to the start and put the St. John's ambulance on the front and changed the windows. I thought that was very nice. But this interior is... It sounds kind of like bragging. I was lucky enough to go on the set as part of the tour in Cardiff.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's amazing. It's superb. It's just this little shell. But you walk inside and it looks huge. They do a great job of enhancing that with some of the lenses they're choosing. But yeah, it's phenomenal. I love it. I think it's got enough of the old school, for sad nerds like me who are obsessed with the old classic series. You've got that kind of classic series vibe to the console, but there's enough about it to make it look a bit more modern. So I like that juxtaposition. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying about what you like about it, because I feel the same way and I pick up on those same things. And it
looks like a piece of technology, whereas my problem with the original Matt Smith one was it just looked like, obviously they were going for that sort of magical fairy tale feel, and it looked like something out of Roald Dahl novel, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, just random things thrown together. But yeah, that didn't really do it for me, I have to say.
For some reason, in the current TARDIS scheme, the under console area for some reason looks too plain for me. That was one of my favorite parts of the previous one, was the under console area, and also the glass floor. And I miss.
Having said that, in the opposite direction, if you look upwards, I'm not entirely sure about the sort of carousel bit. It's kind of cool.
I mean,
I love the archways above. I think that looks superb.
Yeah. No, it's not bad. It's not bad. Let's just put it that way. It's not bad.
Each their own.
Yeah. I mean, I like it's probably my second favorite of the new series for sure. But there we go. And how can we rate this story this week?
Ooh, I think we should rate it with slightly unconvincing robot nasties.
Slightly unconvincing robot nasties. There's two things I want to do at one point, which will never get done. Two things I want to do. I want to go back through all the MHCs, and I want to make a list of musical inclusions. That will never be done. And the other thing is, I want to go back and have a list of all the different denominations we've used. True.
Oh, you're talking about musical inclusions. I'd totally forgotten. The Doctor starts humming Another Brick in the Wall.
Oh, yeah.
Floyd. How cool is that?
That is cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Pink Floyd. And that's probably the first Pink Floyd song I ever heard. Actually, jot this down in your notebooks. Crazy rabid listeners. I want to say that was the first rated R film I ever saw at the cinema. Was Pink Floyd The Wall.
Okay, yeah.
It
Pretty
was. I want to say that was the first, rated R experience I ever had. I remember it. And, that was definitely something that haunted my nightmares for a while. I mean, in particular, the segment for this song, for that song. The kids with the masks and the meat grinder. That is the bit that stayed with me forever until I finally saw the film much later in life on VHS, much later after I had seen it in the theater.
Yeah, pretty grim.
But yeah, so there you go. First rated R film I've ever seen.
I've just had a change of heart. I wanna change our scoring system. We're gonna have ridiculous somersaults.
Oh, another favorite from the story. The somersaults. Ridiculous somersaults. All right. Ridiculous somersaults out of 5. For me, 3 ridiculous somersaults and a twist, right there. Yes, yeah, that's what I'm giving it. Certainly.
Okay, I will give it. I am tempted to give it 4 somersaults.
Well, by all means.
Although I've somewhat mocked the robot and the silly somersault, that's really the only couple of things I could honestly say were perhaps detracting from it, from my personal enjoyment of it. Other than that, I'd say it's a pretty solid story. Certainly keeps up with Gareth Roberts' other efforts.
Yeah, I'm glad he's back, because as much as I
too.
love The Lodger, Closing Time, not one of my favorite stories. Yeah, so there we go. Great. Now, last but not least, next time trailer, any thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, they said prior to the series coming back that there was going to be a film shoot in Lanzarote.
Right.
And I think a lot of us old school fanboys assumed it was going to be a trip back to Sarn, the planet of fire.
Because it has to be.
It has to be. And I think they probably help things by saying it's a sequel of sorts. So I don't really know what they're trying to say there. But from the brief glimpses we've seen, it looks like a pretty convincing moonscape. And those spiders look pretty damn scary.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on with the spiders on the moon. It does remind me a bit of, I was a fan of H.G. Wells when I was young. And I do remember in First Men in the Moon, how the moon is inhabited by insects. So I don't know if that's a connection to that. I have no idea. But aside from that, yet again, these spacesuits, there's some mileage with these spacesuits. These particular spacesuits.
I love them. I think they're cool.
I don't dislike them, but I almost feel like there needs to be at least a throwaway mention. You know, like sometimes they do that where the Doctor just, or somebody has just a bit of throwaway dialogue just to make light of the fact. For some reason, that would just make me feel better. Just some throwaway line as to why we keep seeing these same spacesuits from the Satan Pit, Impossible Planet? Is that where it started?
Yeah,
and then
right.
Many times since, including even in this series, even already. Yeah, there. Waters of Mars. Yeah, obviously listen and this, and I know I'm leaving something else out.
42. It was a slightly different version, but it was.
I forgot about 42 almost altogether.
Yeah, that's probably for the best.
Not a terrible episode, but forgettable for sure. Well, anyway, I don't know. It almost seems to be a trend now, this series, where next time trailer almost tells me nothing. I mean, as far as, is this going to be good? Isn't it? Am I going to like it? Is it? I have no idea. I just don't know.
This next time trailer looks cool. I'm expecting something pretty freaky. It looks very dark, so I'm assuming it's going to be...
It does have that.
Kind of grim.
For sure. I do get that vibe. There's no question. But, Kill the Moon. La-di-da. There we go. Well, there we go. Well, thank you again, Mark.
Well, thank you. It's been a real pleasure coming onto your show.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you. I hadn't realized last time was your first time. So,
I'm an old hand now.
Yeah, there you go. And who knows? Maybe hopefully next time we'll have you in the group setting. I have no idea.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I mean, Inside Baseball, definitely. There's been a trend of the two-person goings this year. But it's kind of because apparently people have things going on. And people are doing... Yes.
They don't just watch Doctor Who all the time and then just talk about it?
No, apparently not. But
some people make Lego baseball stadiums on their kitchen table.
No one I know.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but we still make do, and we make Doctor. Yeah. Doctor Who talk. And so here we are. Please come back, everyone, and join us next time. And closing out the show today, this is Eric.
And this is Mark.
And until next time...
Even if you're staring out at the wonder of the universe from the TARDIS doors, and you throw up all over the TARDIS console,
don't panic. Wow, that was maybe one of the longest. I mean, just the closing bit. One thing I'll put out on my own feed, there was something that they did at the very beginning of the feed. The thing with, I don't know if you remember it. It's just really John Brannigan doing a little skit by himself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little thing about Amy, her first time into the TARDIS with 11. I don't know if you remember that. It's a small thing. I'm looking at the MHC feed. It's one of the very first things on the feed. It's a little thing. It's only a little bit over 3 minutes long, and it's just really John performing a skit. And he just gave me the raw audio of just him speaking, and that was it. And I said, oh, I'll take that, and I'll do something with it. For 3 minutes of audio, you have no idea how many man-hours I invested in that 3 minutes. Because, again, I felt like I was making a cut of Citizen Kane, is how I felt. Everything you hear in that, oh man, I would listen to it on a loop after I finished it. I listened to it for like an hour straight, like in a loop, just that 3 minutes, because every little...
But also, from what I gather, he was your kind of hero as well, in terms of he kind of inspired you to get into it. So you obviously wanted to do something...
John... He didn't...
Well, I got the impression from when we've spoken before that it was that show that he did at the time was one that you would check in on.
Oh, it was my favorite show.
Yeah.
To listen to. Oh, there's no question about that. By far my favorite show. But he didn't inspire me. But he was just someone who, when I started the MHC feed, we used to just collaborate a lot. But what I mean by collaborate is just talk on the side a lot about podcasting and everything. Just have our own quote-unquote off-air conversations about, oh, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that other show? Yeah, we just shared a lot of conversations where we just talked about podcasting in general. But he didn't inspire me, but he was just a behind-the-scenes collaborator at the time when MHC was young. But I don't know. That's one of my personal favorite things, though. Just that 3 minutes. Someone will just listen to it and just think whatever. It's nothing. But when I listen to it, I put hours into that 3 minutes. And when I think I don't know that I'll ever create anything audio wise. I don't know that I'll ever put as much effort into anything again, because it just caught me in a moment where I had a lot of time and I just wanted to run away with it. And so I don't know. It's just a little thing. I'm just saying, if you listen to that 3 minutes, it's called Anywhere
Okay.
One of the first things in the feed.
Go back and revisit that.
And it's only 3 minutes long, but just know that every sound effect, every cue of music, I spent a ridiculous amount of time, and I tweaked it, and I tweaked it, and I tweaked it, and I tweaked it until everything was exactly as I wanted it to be. And it'll just be lost on the random listener, but I oh my god, you have no idea what went into that. Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I mean,
good.
The show will always continue, even if it does take a year hiatus. I'm talking about the podcast. Doesn't matter. It's never gonna go away for good. No way. Because then I have no other hobbies besides that. So,
well, it's like, after this year, I can totally, because when I first got into the podcast, obviously everyone goes through that phase where, I've got to get the episodes out, got to do it monthly, got to make sure I'm, keeping it coming. And then real life gets in the way. Real stuff comes up, and, it makes you realize what your real priorities in life are. And don't get me wrong, I love doing podcasts. It's great fun. But, it's not the be-all and end-all.
Well, see, that's what killed Cyber Testicle.
Yeah.
It made me so sad. Yeah, he had a kid. What is... But, and I understand that, but as I told him at the time when I didn't want him to quit, I would just be like, hey, that's fine.
Well, this doesn't mean I'm quitting. So I'm just... This year has been... Last year was amazing. Last year, in every respect, Doctor Who, personal life, everything, you'd have to go some to top that year. This year, it's been pretty tough. But start getting back to normal again.
Yeah, it always comes around eventually.
Yeah.
I've gone through, oh my God, how many different life changes that have affected my podcasting or whatever. But, yeah, it happens. It's all good.
But if you've got a good podcast, it doesn't matter how many months you're away for. As soon as it comes back, people want to download it.